Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a complete Flutter app building tutorial. Here you will learn how to build an e-commerce app for food delivery, and this app would be both for iOS and Android. And this app would also come with a complete backend. And why build this app? Because you want to master Flutter framework, because you want to master Dart programming language and backend framework, and you also want to get a job. Well, after doing this course, you'll get much better or master Flutter framework and Dart programming language. If you're new to Flutter, or if you're coming from another background or another programming language, or if you are a fresh college graduate, this is the right place for you, because this would be a complete app. And if you're looking for a job, right after finishing this tutorial, you will have something heavy to write on your CV. Here we'll cover some major features. Well, first we'll learn how to show products based on category. Then you will learn how to build shopping carts, place your order, track order. And after that, you'll also learn how to build user profile and pages like sign in and sign up pages. And we'll also see how to build user address location from Google Map. And you can also build zone-based order for users. And the whole app would keep track of user authentication. Some other major features will cover Firebase notification, and we'll see how to do payment and payment SDK like PayPal. And then from the backend, you'll also learn how to upload new products and see order details and update order, and as well as you'll also see user profile on the backend. Well, in tutorial part 1, we'll have 12 hours, and in 12 hours, we'll cover a lot of useful ideas. First, we'll start off by building 4 complex UI screens, and for building those screens, we will be using stack and positioned widget as well as different slivers. We'll cover sliver app burst and sliver box to adapter. And one of the complex UI would be animated page view, where we'll see how to scale up, scale down, and animate the position. And right after that, we will learn about our app architecture, which would be very useful further down the road when you are going to build a new app. And here we'll cover API client repository and controllers, and we'll also learn what are they and how to build them, and we'll see their connection with each other. And after learning this concept, we'll see how to load them in the dependencies, and we make sure that our dependencies will be loaded when our app starts. And then we'll go ahead and start working with building models, classes, with the JSON map and a list. And I know that this is a very scary concept for Flutter beginners, so here we'll take it slowly and cover things in detail step by step. And once we are equipped with these ideas, then we'll go ahead and build our first product controller, cart controller, and we'll learn how to process the related data. And throughout this first part, we'll also cover about responsive layout. So that also means that when we run our app on iOS or Android, different devices, they would look exactly the same, but at the same time they will have proportional size. So right after this tutorial part 1, you'll definitely get better at Flutter and Dart programming language. Well, in part 2, we'll have 12 hours, and by 12 hours you will finish 8 complex UI screen, and after this you'll really become a hero in Flutter front-end development. And over here you'll learn how to build complex models, classes, and working with JSON map and list. Another major feature would be working with Google Map and how to interact with Google Map and save user data. And then you'll learn how to build location, user, and auth controllers and how to process the related data. So we'll learn and we'll focus on how to pick up user location based on user tab. And then you'll learn how to keep track of user orders and show the user related notification from Firebase. And you will also learn how to set up PayPal payment using PayPal SDK, and all of them would be also covered in the backend for user management. Another major feature would be zone-based user location and service. So by the end of part 2, you will really master Dart programming language. And in tutorial part 3, we'll have 3 hours, and here we'll take care of some of the platform specific issues like notification for both Android and iOS, and we'll also see how to turn this mobile app into web app. And this is where the Flutter shines, okay? Because Flutter, once you write code in one platform, pretty much you can run it everywhere. So you just need to know how to build a responsive app. And at the end, we'll see how to publish this app in the App Store. Hello everyone, so let's get started. Well, this is the starter code that hopefully you have downloaded from the website, and if you download and install it, you will have a basic UI like this and a basic project with this project structure where you will have your assets, fonts, and lots of images. All right, and then you will have your lib folder, and within it I have included the colors that we are going to use for our app. Okay, the basic colors. And then we have this main file, and of course this is once again the most basic main file that shipped out. Hello everyone, so assalamu alaikum. Here, this is the first thing we want to do, show a Google map over here. And as you hover over on the map, the address will change over here, and definitely you can save the address. For example, we'll save it right now. Okay, so if we come over here and check it, you can see that it's saved. So it is saved in the database. As well as if you click on this, it will take to a new page, and over here we have different kind of markers that we are using. So we can pick a location. Of course, we don't want to pick a location in the water unless you are a fish. So over here, so we'd pick this address. As you can see, it's over here, and then it would be saved over here. Definitely you can save it, come back, and you see it's saved here. So this is the result we want to achieve, and this is going to be a long tutorial over here, this section. So this is my other iPhone that I'm running, the simulator. So, and this is where and what we have for now. Okay, yes. So we'll get started with this. Well, to do that, first you need to go ahead and install this plugins over here. So one is for Flutter Maps, Google Map, and geocoding and geolocator. Now, one thing from my experience, each time you get one package and do pub.get, okay, and then run the next one and then do this one. So last time I was running all of them at a time and I got errors. So I'm just telling you that if you encounter, so install them separately. All right, so now once this is done, Google Map over here, it needs some special settings. So we'll go ahead and do the setting. We'll come to appdelegate file. Over here we need to install Google Maps over here, this one. Okay, all right, now it should be installed okay if you are done over here. If it's not, check out the documentation, but anyway, you have to write this one. Okay, and after that over here, this is where you want to put your API key, and for this one check out my other tutorial that I have a link below, because if you don't get your Google Map API key, you won't be able to use Google Map. Okay, so you have to have the key. Of course, I can't share my key with you because every key charge you money, but in general, first few months they are free from Google. So if you're just trying out the test, trying out the app, then first 3 months is fine. They won't charge you anything, and after 3 months later, they would start to charge you. Okay, and at the same time, I suggest you to go ahead and register a domain. And if you don't know how to do this kind of thing, register a domain and putting your backend to the server, then just let me know if you want. I'll make one for you guys. Okay, because that's what I often do. Anyway, so go ahead and get the token and write it, put over here inside this one. Okay, all right, and right after that we also need to check our Android settings. Okay, now for Android setting, you need to come inside your application tag, and right over there you need to put your Android key if you want to run from Android device. So you need to wrap it around this meta tag, which is called Android name, and then you'd be able to access the map from Android device. Okay, so I strongly suggest to go ahead and do this. Okay, all right, once again, I can't share my key with you guys, so just go ahead and do it. So I think this is the only place you need to change, and there might be another place where you need to do some setting. Let me see. So we'll come over here. By the way, Android manifest file is over here, this one. So this is the one that I just opened, and then over here this compiled version, minimum SDK version, and target version. So this is what I have for now, Android, but based on different Android devices they might change a little bit, so you need to check out which is suitable for your application, okay, and your emulator, because Android and iOS are quite different. So these are the places that you need to change. So for Android, once again, inside this app build.gradle, and inside source folder, inside main, you should use Android manifest. By the way, over here you might see a different app name, but actually I'm running the same app in two different kind of window of this Android Studio, as you can see. So this is the one I'm using with you guys, and this is the one personally I have set up everything ready, but they are completely same, okay, because I have done the setup for Android over here in this one, and this one I didn't do yet because I'm running iOS over here, but they're completely same app. If you see the different name, don't get confused that why this guy has different name. It's just a different name, but inside is everything is same. All right, okay, cool. So now right after this we are done with the settings, okay, and if we are done, then we need to go ahead and create some Dart classes. So let's go ahead and do it. So right inside this over here, well, I have this controllers, okay. Now over here I'll create a new controller, and I'll call it location controller, and we'll deal with location, okay. Location controller .dart, okay. File name detected, okay, sorry, file location controller .dart, okay. So that's what we have created, and we'll keep this one, and over here inside this data, so inside this repository I'll create another class, and Dart class, and I'll call it location repo.dart, okay. So now we have this two different well, one is controller, other is repo, but they will have their own classes. So for this one I'll just simply go ahead and call it location controller extends now here we'll extend getXController, and we'll also implement getXService. Okay, now right after this we'll come over here in our location repo, and over here we'll create a class, and we'll call it location repo, and over here we want to create a constructor location repo, and for now it would be empty, and as we initialize we want to pass two kind of data. One is API client, and we'll create an instance of it, API client, and then we'll do final shared preferences. We also want to create one shared preferences instance, and then we'll send them over here, okay. So they're required, so we do this dot API client, and required this dot shared preferences. So we will go ahead and pass them. All right, now after being said that, all we need to do, we need to come to this dependencies class over here, right here. We'll inject our location repo, right? So to do that, actually, yes, we can do it from here. Let's inject it. So we'll use lazy put, and here we do location repo, okay. All right, this one, and here it takes two instances. One is for API client, we use get.find, it would find on its own and send it. and then we'll also use share preferences. Okay, now here is the same, get.find. Okay, well, after this we also want to initialize the constructor for location. So here we do get.lazyPut. So this lazyPut initialization injection, they're pretty much the same thing, just a different terminology. So location controller, and over here all you need to do, pass the auth repo, our location repo. So here we'll just simply call location repo, and here we do get.find. Okay, of course this would show error because in our location controller we are not passing anything yet. So let's click on this, and it should give you autofix, but it didn't. But no worries, we'll go ahead and do it on our own. So over here we'll go ahead and initialize, create an instance of location repo, and then we'll create an instance of it. Okay, then we do location repo and required this dot location repo. All right, so right now I'll go ahead and initialize some variables. We need them, first I'll go ahead and initialize, because if I do it separately it might take a lot of time. So here I would just go ahead and initialize a lot of these variables, okay, so that I don't have to come back again and look for things. So this is a position instant. We need this one for our positioning on the map. Okay, all right, and this is coming from geolocator, this package, the one we installed early. And so we'll create another one. Okay, this is for picking position. It's a pick position. So this one would be over here pretty much. So as we move on it, so after moving, the position would be saved here. But if you click onto this one and then want to save, that position would be saved over here. Hopefully it makes sense. All right. Okay, and we also want to use the place markers. So place mark, this one, and here we do place mark equal place mark. Okay, all right. Now the other one is pick place mark. So we'll create another place mark instance over here, and we'll call it pick place mark and place mark. Okay, so once again we have this markers, right? So other one is for picking. Okay, the other one is for default one, the one we said early. So over here just a default one, and if you double click on this and you want to pick a position, okay, then that position would be saved inside this, hopefully. All right. Okay, over here actually we also want to create a list of address that we want to save, and for that one we also need to create list of address and address model. But for now we don't have any address model, so for this reason, well, let me tell you, it should be like this: list address model, like this. So inside of this we'll save list of addresses. Okay, and but to save the address you need to create address model first. Okay, for now we don't have. Okay, so well, of course we don't have, so it can't get it. So let's go ahead and create address model. So for this one we'll come to this file, models, and inside this we'll create a new class and we'll call it address model.dart. So here we'll create a class and we'll call it address model, and here we'll have some variables, and we'll have first variable int for address ID. Well, this is optional. We may want to create a new ID or we may not, so that's why it's optional. Here the other one is a light string. We'll have address type, like it's a house, office, or different kind of institution. You can get to choose from it, so that's why we'll have address type. Then we'll have contact person name, and that is also optional, contact person name, because if we don't have contact person name, we'll use our username, the one has registered, so that's why this is optional. And now we'll have another one, that's a string. Now that string is for just the address itself. Okay, so we'll have long text for address, and then we'll also have light string latitude, okay, and a light string longitude, yeah. So this is the latitude and longitude on your Google map, okay. And then we'll also have the other one, I think I can put it here, light string contact person number. So it is more like a number, phone number, okay. All right, after that we'll create constructor for this. Okay, so we do address model. Now here ID is optional, so we don't do required over here. And let's see. Okay, all right. Now here required, we'll have address type, and now we'll also have contact person number, but that's not necessary. Okay, so that would be optional. So here we'll just do well, actually here we can just go ahead and copy this, and I'll remove that. So now once again, these values, you see this string, they don't have this underscore because these values would be given from outside. And then as we pass the value, they would be assigned to this one. And how to do that? Just right over here, okay? Now here we could initialize them. So here we would do ID equal ID, and address type equal address type, contact person number or name, just go ahead with this one, equal contact person name, contact person number equal contact person number, okay, longitude equal longitude, latitude equal latitude. Okay, now with this we are pretty good. So once we go ahead and call this one to create an address model, the values it will given to each of them, and those values it eventually would pass to this. Okay, so hopefully it makes sense. So this strings or this parameters would give value to the right hand side. Hopefully it makes sense. Okay, and these are all private because we have this underscore. Okay, now here we also want to create setters and getters, especially getters first. Here we do string get and address. Okay, string get latitude, or maybe I think we should do address type actually. Address type, and then string get contact person name, because we want to get the value from outside of this class. Okay, and let's see what's happening here. Make it nullable. Okay, all right, because over here we say that they might be nullable or optional, so that's why we need to do it. Okay, string get contact person number contact person number. Okay, I think with this we are done. And at the same time we have to create a method to create convert from JSON to object. Okay, so that this one gets called, because we'll get data from server as JSON data, so we need to convert them to our corresponding class object. So we need to assign the value to each of this field. Okay, all right, so now over here we do address model dot from JSON. We'll create a method called from JSON, and it would get map value, which would be string and dynamic. Let's see. Okay, right. And the variable will call it JSON, and this is the convention to call it JSON. Okay, let's see, dynamic, all right. So right inside this, we want to assign the value to this variables like this one. Okay, so over here we would do id equal JSON, because in JSON object over here, this one in this map, we'll have this id field, and then we'll have address type, and we do JSON address type. Now this address type could be nullable. If it's null, nothing is there, we'll put empty string so that our app doesn't crash. Now contact person number over here, JSON so here we do contact person number. And once again, if it's null, then we'll set it to empty string. Okay, I'll copy this one and put it there, and contact person name, here we do contact person name. Okay, and let's see, we have address field. Now address field, it can't be null. We need an address, so of course it can't be null. And then we'll have a latitude, and we do JSON latitude. Okay, and then we do longitude, this one, and here we do JSON longitude. Okay, all right, so with this we are pretty much done, but we might need another method from converting this thing to a JSON object itself. Now here from JSON we are creating an object. Okay, and in future maybe we need one from JSON. We want to convert it to JSON, but anyway, now we'll go ahead and import it. Yes, it should be imported. Yeah, here we will also create another value list, another list for address model. So here we'll create another list using address model. And this would be all address list. Okay, all right, and we might have a lot of different addresses, so we might want to save it in a different list. And over here it'll just save one kind of address. Okay, all right, and we want to have another list string over here, list for string. Now inside this list we want to mention our address type list. Okay, so here we do address type list. Now here we might have home, office, or others. Okay, hopefully it makes sense. And then we want to access them by index. So here we might say address type index equals 0, which means the default one would point to this one. Okay, all right, so these are the few variables we need first, and actually we need a lot more, just the beginning. And now we'll go ahead and create another class for our UI. So for UI over here, we'll go to pages, and over here I'll create a new folder directory, and I'll call it address. And inside address, here I'll create a new file of addAddress page.dart. Okay, this one. Now over here we'll create a stateless class, and we'll call it addAddress page. Well, I think here I need a stateful class, and I want to convert it to a stateful class. So if you want to convert it to stateful class on Mac, you'll select it, and then you do option enter, and you'll see convert it to stateful class. But if you're on Windows, then you need to hit enter alt. But of course I'm not here on Windows. Anyway, for Android Studio, for Mac, over here you would hit option enter. For Windows Android Studio, you would select it and hit alter enter. Okay, so that's how you convert it to stateful class in Android Studio. But if you are on VS Code and on Mac, then you do command dot. You'd select it and hit command dot. And if you're on VS Code Windows, then you do alter dot, and that would help you. So anyway, I'll come over here, and because I'm on Mac, so I would hit option enter, and I'll choose this one. So with this, now it became a stateful class. And after that, I want to create some variables over here at the top. And here we do text editing controller, this one. And this would be for our address controller. Here we do text editing controller. Okay, now here we need another for our name and our phone number. Okay, so we still need text editing controller, and here we do contact person name, and here we do text editing controller, and here we do text editing controller and contact person number, do text editing controller. Okay, great. And after that, we also want to set up some default variables for checking in logging and whether the user has logged in or not, because you want user to be able to log in first and then fill in their address. So I need to check that. So over here we'll create a variable. We'll call it created bool type, and we'll call it is logged. Okay. And then if you see, well, here we can say it. It's like vert view. So this kind of view, you need camera position. Okay. So that's why we'll go ahead and create an instance for our camera, and we'll also give it default value. Okay, so here we do camera position. Okay, as you can see, camera position is actually coming from, I think, Flutter Google Maps. Yeah, over here. So now here we'll create a default private variable, and then we'll give value to it. Okay, so we'll do camera position. Now it does take certain values for target. Now in general for target, it takes a function which is called latlang, which stands for latitude and longitude. Okay, now let's see over here. Let's make it final over here. Okay, now here for this one, for now, we'll create some default values to it, give it some default values for latitude and longitude. Okay, so here I'm using US location. You can use whatever location you want for latitude and longitude, it doesn't matter. Okay, and after that, you also need to use another property which is called zoom. It should be how big it is. Let's see, add const modifier and another one. Okay, all right, so with this would be able to have this bird eye view. Okay, so with the camera position you can do that. Okay, right. And we also need another variable for latitude and longitude because we want to change it later. For now, this is the hard-coded, but we want to change it later. So, well, it would be late because we will initialize it later. Okay, initialize position. Now let's see, change to this one. Yes. Okay, great. Okay, now we created this stateful class because we want to have our init state class. So as we load this class, first we want to initialize some stuff. So for that one, here you want to override init state, and inside this we want to do some of this initialization. First, here we'll check if the whether the user has logged in or not. So here we do get.find, and we'll call our auth controller. Okay, and here I think user, let's see, is okay. I think we need to get it first. Import get package. Okay, all right. Now let's see what we can access. User logged in. This one. This returns a bool based on whether user has logged in or not. So we want to check that one first. Okay, whether user has logged in. So here we'll check if logged, and then we want to do get.find and the user controller, and after that we want to check actually user model if it's null or not. If it's null, that means that user model has not been imported yet from the database. So here we want to get the information from the database. So here we have a function which is called get.find, and here we do user controller and get user info. Okay, so if you don't know where it is, you can click on this and it will take you to the user controller, and over here we have this user model and its information. Okay, so it does get information from database, as you know, user info. All right, so make sure that you have it, and I think we had it earlier in our previous tutorial. Okay, once again, so have a good look. All right, so now we'll come over here. So if user model is empty, then we'll put it over here, because with this, when you come over here, you call this over here, you see it puts into user model. It gets the data from the database and put in the user model. Okay, so we are trying to make sure that user information is not empty. Okay, all right. Then we do another thing, okay, get.find, and now here we do location controller, okay, location controller. Okay, now location controller has address list, address, let's see, where's the location controller? We do have address list, but we don't have a getter for this. So we need to set a getter for this. So here we do list address model, okay, get address list, okay. All right, let's see. We need to create a variable for this. Variable name would be address list. Okay, all right. So now over here you can get address list. Okay, now it is not empty. If it's not empty, so if user already has address, whenever we come to this page, we'll check it. Well, if already user has address, actually certain information like latitude and longitude, this should not be default one like this. What I mean by that, so when you come to this page, for example, say from here, go back, so from here, when you come over here and saved it first time, and next time you come, well, this latitude and longitude would not be empty, which also means the address list is not empty. If address list is not empty, it means the latitude and longitude, they are not empty. Okay, if they are not empty, we want to create a new camera position value based on whatever was saved in the database. But do remember, first time this thing is empty. I'm talking about the second time when user comes in. Okay, so here we do camera position. Okay, now once again we see that we have a default value over here, right? We have a default value, camera position. This is the default one. So in this case this is not true, which means false, which means is empty. But we are thinking if address is not empty. Okay, all right. So here we'll have latitude and longitude from address itself, because you see we have this address model, and over here we have latitude and longitude. Okay, all right, so we can get that. So now let's come over here to our addAddress page. Over here we'll do now latitude and longitude, as you see over here. We'll save them as we do have as a string, right? But we want to convert them in double. But by the way, I think we also need to get them because we are not getting them. So let's do this one, string, and let's see the type. Yes, string get latitude, string get longitude, okay, all right, great. Now we'll come to addAddress page over here. So here we'll have just like this one, as you see, latitude and longitude function. So first we'll use this lat_lang, this one. Now it does take two values which we saw early. First one is latitude, second one is longitude, but they are double. But in our model they are a string, so we need to convert them to string, a double. Okay, well, to do that, first here we do get.find, okay, and then we do location controller, and then we do getAddress. Let's see, do we have getAddress? Well, we don't have getAddress, anything like that. So for this reason, we'll come over here and declare a variable. which is address, get address, like that. Okay, now this would be strictly coming from the database, and we'll save it over here. Let's continue, and as we go ahead and move, we'll understand more. But anyway, so now over here, now we could do get address, and then hopefully we'll expect that it will have a key name latitude. Okay, now that's what we'll have, and this is the one that we want to convert to double. So here we do double parse. Okay, and then I'll put it right here. Okay, all right. Now here it's causing the problem. The reason is you don't want to like this final, because we are changing the variable. Okay, so that's why we don't want to have final over here, because we are changing the variable once again over here. Okay, all right. And after that, I'll have once more time double parse, and I'll put it there, and this time I'll have longitude. Okay, all right, and then we'll have the semicolon. Okay, now which also means that once again, if I'm able to come over here, so this is the second time user is interacting on this page. First time this condition is wrong or false. Okay, so this would be the actual location of user, because user would choose and save it. Okay, all right. Okay, now there is another thing we need to do right after this. Inside this, if address list is not empty, so we also want to set the initial position. One is camera position, the other one is initial position. And for this one, we'll just simply copy this from here and we'll put it here. Okay, they're the same thing. Now just exactly the same thing we did over here, but of course we didn't initialize it. Okay, so we are going to initialize it later, but here we did. Okay, all right, so that's how it should work for now. And after that, over here we want to replace this. We want to replace this with scaffold, and then we'll have body. Well, inside body for now we'll have a column, and then we'll have children. Okay, and right over here we'll have an app bar, and here we do app bar. Okay, and we'll have title, and here we'll have the, I guess, text and address page. Okay, and I think we also need to set up the background color, and here we do app colors dot main color. Okay, so here we want to have a container, and the container will have its width and height. So this height is 140. Okay, and then we'll have it width, and here simply we could do media query, media query dot of context dot size dot width. And then we'll have decoration, box decoration, and here we do border radius, border radius dot circular, and we'll have border radius circular like 5. It doesn't matter what device it is too small anyway. So now here we will have border all. So one is border radius. We also want to assign border. So here we'll have width like 2 pixels, and then we also want to set the color of this border. So here we do color. Let's see, theme dot of context dot primary color. Yeah, this one. Okay, now let's see what else we are having right now. Okay, this one. After this, actually now we should be able to go ahead and run and see what's going on. Okay, all right, now to do that, actually what I want you to do, you should come to your cart page over here, and right inside this, and let's go ahead and find let's see, check out Yeah, right over here. Okay, and we want to check whether user has logged in or not, and if it did, then we'll do a next checking. Here we do if get.find, and here we do location controller. Okay, and then we do address list and is empty. Okay, all right, now once again this address list is coming from, let's see here, this one, but for now it's definitely empty because we don't have anything to fill in. We'll fill in very soon, but we'll check whether it's empty or not. Well, if it is empty, then we'll go to a new route. Okay, so because if it's empty, then we'll ask the user to go to this page, the one we are creating. Okay, all right, so for now, first we'll go ahead and create a route. It would be like this. So it would be more like get.off named or to named, it doesn't matter, and then we do route helper dot get address route, like this. Okay, so this is what we want to call. So what we'll do, we'll come to this route page over here, and now let's come over here and let's go ahead and define a static variable first. The static const string add address here, add address. Okay, and then we'll create a function for this. So here we do static string add get address route or page. Actually, here we do add address, this one. Now corresponding to this one, we also need to set up a get page. Here we do get page, and here we do add address. Now here, what do we want to do? You just want to simply return this add address page. Okay, so here we do add address. Yeah, and that's all. Okay, now hopefully with this we should be up and running now, but of course Google Map is not there yet, but we built the skeleton for this. So yes, I'll come over here and I'll try to run it, and we'll start from the scratch. I mean, the app is running, I guess. Let's see. Okay, yes, it's booted up. Now if you click on this one, I do have some stuffs over here. Now I'll click on this one, and I'll click on this checkout button. Do remember, if I click on this checkout button, now I want this to get called. Okay, well, I think add address page. Yes, so this is our checkout button, which is this one. Well, for now, as a user, I have logged in, I guess, and but my address is empty, so it'll take me there. Okay, well, it's not taking me anywhere. So let's see what's happening. Let's see if we can able to print a method from the logged in. Okay, all right. Let's click on this one. Oh yes. Okay. Anyway, for some reason it was not working. Now it's working. So it took me to this page where I had this one, right? Yeah. Well, now things are already looking great. Well, if it's looking great, then I can do more stuff over here. Now we can do a bit of design over here for, I think we can also do a bit of margin. So here we do const add inches only, left 5, right 5, and top 5. Okay, yeah. Well, now it's time to show our Google Map. Okay, Now I'm here inside this container, and we want to show the Google map inside this container. Okay, so now over here I'll have child. Okay, so I'll do child, and for now I'll use stack widget, because in future I might put a lot of extra thing over here on the top of each other. So stack widget would help me. And right over here I'll do Google map. Okay, Google map, as you can see. Now it does take one compulsory parameter, which is initial camera position, as you can see over here. Okay, so it takes initial camera position. Now for this one I'll use camera position, camera position, and right here inside this I'll have target, and then I would use initial position. And inside this I'll also use another property, which is zoom, which is 17. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and run it, or we can save it first. Let's see. So here initial, okay, yeah, definitely this has not been set. Okay, so this has not been set over here. Well, if it's not been set, what I could do, I can just copy this one and put it right there. Okay, now let's save it. Yes, our Google Map friend is there. So yes, our Google Map is already showing up, and that's a good thing. Okay, all right. Okay, now if you hover over on this one, it does have a lot of other property that we can use. As you can see over here, actually a lot of them. So we are going to use some of them as our default values. So right after this, I'll put a comma over here, and right here I'll do zoom controlled enabled. It's false. We don't want to zoom in here. And the compass enabled will also use false, and indoor view enabled true, and map toolbar enabled is false. And this is another a method, which takes a method, another property on camera idle, which is very important to us. We have to do it soon. And there is another one which is called on camera move, this one. Now over here we need to pass a position to it, and that would be set to, well, it would grab a position actually and set to camera position. As you move it, so it'll take that position and put it in the camera position. Okay, so it's like that. Now there is another one that we would need on map created. Now for this one we need to have Google Map Controller. Let's see if we can get this one, Google Map Controller. Yes, we can get this, and we'll call it controller. And over here we want to return like this. Now for Google Map Controller, over here we would do some interesting stuff. Well, so here right now we need to fill in this place and this place. Okay, now this place is pretty much talk to the server. This is just one-time setup. First, let's go ahead and work with this one, and over here we'll grab the Google Map Controller and save it in our location controller. So once the Google Map is here, has been initialized, so we'll save it over here in the location controller. And for this one, first here we'll create a variable, and it would be an instance of Google Map Controller, and here we'll call it Map Controller. And right after this we'll create a method over here, and we'd call it, the type would be void, and here set map controller, like this. And here we'll pass Google Map Controller, and map controller will be passing this one, and then we'll save it to this. Okay, then later on our location controller just should be able to use this one. Okay, so if we are done with this, then from here actually we can call a location controller dot set map controller. Now to be able to do it, we need to wrap our column over here, this one, using get builder. So that's what we'll do. So we'll wrap it around a widget, and I think the best way to do it is to cut this one, because this would be pretty long. So I would cut it like this, and then I would do get builder, and here I'll wrap everything around the location controller. Okay, and let's see, here we'll have builder, and here we'll call it location controller. Once again, if you don't understand how get builder works, check out my other tutorial. I have a dedicated tutorial just for get builder. And then over here I'll return like this. Okay, and we need to use the return keyword. Okay, great. Let's see, and here we need this semicolon. Okay, fine. Now based on this, now we can access our location controllers, set map controller, and controller. Okay, so that's how we're able to pass this one and set it. Okay, now the next interesting part is over here. We need to call the update method as we want to update our location. So here we do location controller, okay, dot update position. Well, of course we don't have this method, we have to create it, but we'll pass camera position to it, and we want to, once the camera is idle, then we call this one and we'll pass true, which means we want to update it. Of course we'll have corresponding parameter, we are passing argument from here, so we'll have a corresponding parameter. So we don't have it yet, so we'll go ahead and create a method, and it did it for us automatically. Okay, so we are passing this camera position and this one. Now for location controller itself, we'll first create another variable. Let's see, right below it, here we'll create a variable, and it will be bool type, and here we'll say update address data, like that. And for now we'll set it to true. Okay, and right over here we'll check it, update address data. Now this is the default one. In future we might want to stop updating, so all we need to do, play with this variable. Okay, all right, and we also need to here, so let's set another boolean. I think we already have one, loading. Okay, so right now, right over here, we'll set loading to true, which means being used. We are trying to load something, work. Okay, all right, and if it is a true, we want to update the data, update the UI, sorry. We want to update the UI, so once started to load, things will change on the UI, so we'll trigger update. All right, and then we'll do a try clause over here. Okay, catch e print e if we have error. Okay, now over here within it, here I want to change the name. I don't want to call it bool. You can say from address, so which means from address page, which is this one. So over here we'll do a check if this function update position, whether being called from here or not, because throughout the app we might call it from many different places. Okay, so that's why we are setting this boolean over here. Okay, all right, so if it is like this, then we do something. So now here previously we have this position over here, this one, right? So right now we want to update this position. Okay, all right, and for this one we'll use the position constructor from geolocator, I think. So here we'll set up some default properties, but a lot of them would be used from here, position. Okay, so I want to get this. So over here, as you can see, this position I'm getting, loading I'm getting, and is loading. Well, I don't need this one, and for now we'll also skip this. So here I want to, if you hover over on it, it does take a lot of properties. So here I'd be getting them from this one, so I'll set them up here at the top just like this. So you should go ahead and do like this. So for loading itself, we are getting the get property for position, and for peak position. Okay, so right after this, we'll come over here and we'll set up this latitude, and latitude would be coming from position.tar. And over here, let me change this name. I just want to use position. So here I'll grab this object, position, then I would do target, then camera will have latitude and longitude. So I can get both of them. Longitude. So here I would do position, position.target.longitude. Okay, and it also takes a timestamp, so we do datetime.now, and I think it does a heading 1, accuracy, let's see, accuracy 1, altitude 1, speed accuracy 1, and speed 1. So these are the proper parameters it takes, and pass them and you should be good to go. All right. Okay, so if it's from address from this page, so these are the position that's being updated, and we save it to this one. Now if it's from another page like we saw early, so here after if we would do else, we'll just copy all of this and put it here, but this time instead of position we'll save it to peak position, so which would be simply from the other page we saw in our simulator. Like if you click on this, you go over here, so from there. Okay, hopefully it makes sense. Now we'll set up another variable right at the top, and over here we would call it change address, and for now it would be true, and we would come over here. Let's see, we need a semicolon. Yes, okay. Now here we'll check another condition, if change address. Now, a lot of these booleans we would be using later on, so I'm defining them now, even though it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but bear with me, soon we'll be using them from other different purposes. Okay, now right over here, actually from here we want to talk to the server, and so here I'll have this position, like position target altitude, position target latitude. So this coordinate will send it to the server first in our main server, I mean our server, and then from the server it will talk to the Google server, and Google server would send us a string value for this. Okay, because right now with this all we get is number, but we want to get text. Now to do this we need to talk with the server, and this is the place from where we start to talk with the server. Okay, all right, so now from here we need to we'll create a variable first, and we'll call it address. It would be local variable, and here we'll create a method, and the method name would be getAddressFromGeocode, I think. Yeah, this is the function name, function we want to create. Okay, now as we are doing await, let's see, I think we might need to put async here, async. All right, okay, now it should solve the problem, but of course right now we don't have a method like this. we can do the logic here, but I will separate it to a different function. Okay, and inside it, actually, we want to pass an object, and let and lang object. Let and let's say lang. All right. Now here we want to pass position.target.latitude, target.latitude, and position.target.longitude. So these are the two parameters that we want to pass to it. But for now, we don't have a function like this, so we need to go ahead and create one. So right below it, we'll create a new function, and this function would return future. That's why we have await here. So this function is going to return something, and it would return future. So that's why we have await, and it would return future string. Now I have other tutorial on future. If you don't know how it works, go ahead and check it. So I'll keep the link below. Now here we'll just simply call it getAddressFromGeocode. So this is the method, and here let lang object, and we'll just simply call it let lang. Okay. Now over here it would return something. What it would return? It would return a string. So first we'll define a default string address. Here we could say unknown location found. Okay, all right, and this is what we want to return, but of course not really like that. Okay, let's see. Replace return type with a string. Well, it doesn't really matter. We have to change it soon, otherwise the error is still here. Now here actually, so from here we call this function. So this function would be here. Now it would go ahead and talk to the server. Okay, well, to be able to talk to the server, first here we'll create a response object, response, and over here in location repo we'll create a method, and we'll call that method over here, location repo, but we don't have it now. So in location repo we'll call the same one. Okay, and then we are passing let lang. Okay, all right, so let's see here, you might need async. Okay, all right, now this one we don't have, so we'll copy this one first. We'll control command B on Mac. So over here it would take me to location repo over here. Now right here I'll create a new method. So the method name would be this one, and it gets let lang object, let lang. And let's see, I think we need to import all right, and we need to import the library. Okay, so over here we want to do return await and API client dot get data. So this would be a get request. Okay, and then here we want to create an endpoint. Okay, so let's what we would do, would go to app constants, and over here we would do get geocode URI. You might not have it, I already have it, so I will show you, just bear with me. And then at the same time we will dissect this object and pass over here. So let's see, so over here you want to pass parameters. Now we'll do let, so we'll pass value for let, and we'll get this object which is let lang. Okay, and it has a latitude, so we first send a latitude to it. So this way when it gets there, hopefully it would be string. Okay, so we are sending string to it, we are getting it from it and sending string to it. Okay, all right, yeah, okay, and we want to pass another one, and that would be lng. Okay, let lang, this one, and then we want to get longitude from it. Okay, all right. And over here, okay, and we also need the async modifier. Okay, and we want to return this, and this would be a response type object. Response, because when you use getX or make a request to the server, your HTTP client should return a response object regardless you use getX or HTTP client. But here we are using getX to do the same work, so we don't have any other third-party package. But so hopefully it should make sense. I'll come over here. So what happened over here? Let's see, not user controller. Okay, so here we have this update position. We'll click on this. Now it does save a lot of the information from this position over here. And then we have a method, it's called getAddressFromGeocode. Eventually, the body of this method is over here. Now it talks to the repo. So in the repo, we have a method like this. Okay, and now this creates a get request to the server, and it gets data from the server. Okay, so now here, this is the URI. I already have it actually over here. So I created this two new string. One is user address and geocode. So go ahead and do that. And this would be our endpoint. Okay. Yeah. So now we need to go ahead and check endpoint. Now let me recheck one more time. So we are coming over, I'll close this one. Route helper I don't need. User repo we don't need. We need address page. While dependencies we don't need, we need location controller. All right. Okay, so now over here we are returning a future string, as you can see from here. So over here, before we go ahead and touch the server, so we still need to make a bit of change, and we want to check this response. So simply we could do if response dot body, and we want to get the status from the server. So you do status equal okay. All right, and then if this is, otherwise we'll just print over here error getting the Google API. All right, okay. If not, so over here we'll just simply put it to our address, like the one we have, address. Here we do response dot body, and it will have results, and here we do O, and here we do formatted address to string. Okay, so now once again this would talk to the server with our server, and then our server would talk to the Google server, and then if it can successfully talk to the Google server, it will return something. Okay, and if it does, then over here we can save it to this string. Okay, all right. So now we need to look at our backend. Now over here, I'll open my localhost backend. Now if you come to this api.php file, over here you do have a route group which prefixed to it config, and this is for basic configuration. And over here we do have this geocode API. Now this one corresponds to this constants over here, geocode URI, which is this one. Okay, so this one talks back to this one over here. So this is the endpoint, and this is the endpoint. So it does get this method, and this method lives in this controller, which is this one. By the way, so this controller is under your API folder, inside API folder directly, you have this config controller, this one. Okay, so make sure that you have this one. All right, so now over here, this is the basic function and it's already there. So it takes a latitude and a longitude and it checks whether it's empty or not, and this is where actually it talks to Google server. Okay, so now this part is quite long. So this is the Google address for talking to the server. Okay, and now simply we are passing this lat and lang, this one, from our app. So once again, as we let's see, not this one, this one. So as we move this, so the latitude and longitude changes and we grab it and we pass it to this function over here. Now it talks to this repo, and from the repo over here it talks to the server. As it does, it sends this lat and lang. Okay, and of course this is a GET request, so it sends lat and lang, and as it does over here, we get this same lat and lang. Okay, so that's why it works. So you have to know that how it works and why it works. So make sure that your parameters name are correct, because this has to be the same over here, and this one is the address. Using this address, we talk to the Google server. Okay, and we get the address based on our movement over here. Hopefully it makes sense. Okay, yes. So what we'll do right now, well, by the way, so for this one to work, you need to put your key over here, as you can see. Well, for you guys to be able to see it clearly, what I will do, I will just make a line break over here so that you know actually what's happening, because this is really a long line. Okay, so yeah, so here I have this, and then I have this dot here, 2 dots. Okay, and then I'm connecting the lang, and then I'm putting this key. Okay, so hopefully it makes sense. All right, and then we return the JSON object. Okay, so don't forget to put your key. Now this key should be your Google API key. You should put it over here. Okay, and then it should work. Okay, so in general, you want to put one kind of key everywhere throughout your app. Okay, most probably just the one you use for iOS, Android, and over here they all should be the same one. So one key you can use, and it does create a bit of security concern, but in general it should be okay. All right, you know, security concern means that other people might be using it, but of course if they don't know your key, they can't use this one. Okay, anyway, so I will save this. So I'll put my key over here, and then I'll come to this section where it says that location repo. Now over here I'll put a print statement, and right over here I'll refresh it. Now as I hover over on it, I should be able to see, okay, you see the new address. Okay, so yeah, so it means that we are successfully able to talk to the server as we change our location, like SW, Sunset Highway, like SW, things like that. Okay, so it's referring to the same place. So as you hover over on it, it changes SW, Kingston, DR, blah blah blah. Okay, so that means it's working. Okay, our address. So over here I'll comment it out, and if it works, then I need to come over here, and over here I need to save, let's see, string. Okay, yes. All right, now this is a Boolean. It tells you which page you are coming from. So based on this, we'll make a conditional check over here. Over here we would do from address. If it is true, if we are coming from address page, okay, which actually means this page, because we'll have another page which is not address page. Okay, now here I would do placemark equal placemark over here. Now here we need to send name as string, so NAME. Now here we'll send the address. Okay, now this is the address we are sending. Okay, so this is for placemark, and if it is not true, if it is false, then we'll fall back to another condition. Okay, pick placemark, and over here we'd say placemark this one, and the name address. Okay, all right. So now these two variables we defined at the top. Okay, so over here you might see, okay, one is a placemark, other one is pick placemark. Okay, so these two we defined at the top, and now we are assigning value to them. Okay, so this is the value that we are assigning to them. Yes. Okay, now the bright side of this doing like this, so on different pages I might have a different condition and a different kind of address, so I'm checking and putting them in different variables. Okay, now as we can save value in this, now we'd be able to pick them from our UI over here. I mean, we'd be able to print them over here. Okay, now this placemark also has interesting property. Now for example, you could do like this, print placemark dot. So you see it has country, administrative area name, locality, postal code, so we'd be able to use all of them. So all we did over here, we grabbed the string from the Google server, which is very important, most important, and then we send it to the placemark over here. Now based on this string, placemark can identify what is your postal code, address code, administrative area, country code, locality, street. So this is beautiful, very powerful, and that's why all this time we needed this placemark, and that's why actually we declared them at the top. Okay, so here we have placemark and pick placemark. All right, yeah. So now next part is, as we can grab this thing over here, next part is showing this on our UI. So now we'll go to our UI over here, and at the top over here, well, we have this container. For now only one container, and we have this location controller, and we have this instance from here. Okay, so at the same time previously we had declared our address controller. So this is the time we put value from a placemark to address controller. Okay, so just now we saw that we can print values, right? So and those values actually would be coming from placemark once again from here. Okay, so because of placemark we get different part of this string. Okay, all right. And over here, so here we do like this. So here we do address controller dot text. In the text we want to put things, and then because it's going to be a dynamic variable, or the value would change, so over here we would first wrap it around this single quote, and then this $sign, and then this double bracket. Okay, now here I would write location controller, and then here I will have this placemark. Let's see, placemark, but we don't have placemark, so I think we need to make a setter for our placemark. So right now we have placemark like this, but we don't have setter. So here, sorry, we don't have getter, so here we need to do like this. So I'll just simply copy this one first, and I'll put it here, and here I'll do get placemark, and like this. Okay, so it should solve the problem. Okay, yeah, and over here the same for this one. We'll just copy this, and then here we'll do the get and pick place mark like this. Okay, so we did this new setup so we can get the value of place mark. Now over here we do like this dot place mark. Okay, now it will have a name of the place, so we can get name. Now here, if somehow you fail to get it, so you need to be a null safety. Okay, so here you do double quotation. If it doesn't exist, then over here we would use a different value. Okay, of course it should be inside. So if it doesn't exist, then we'll use empty string, just like that. Okay, yeah, so that's for place mark name, but we can also get locality, postcode, country, things like that. So all of this we'll put together over here. So next we would do this one. So place location controller dot place mark dot locality. All right, and if it doesn't exist, then we do empty string, and the same. Now we will get the postal code. Location controller dot place mark dot postal code, and empty string. And the last one, so location controller place mark dot country, country, country. It doesn't exist, then this. Okay, and at the end we'll return like this. Okay, so with this, now we are able to print the value over here. Now this time, because we're able to get the value, so here we'll print it. Okay, and we'll check what's going on. Address in my view is, so here I'll just put it. Yeah, so I'll save it first and hot reload. And what I want, so okay, let's hover over on this. So it looks like for now it is still empty. Yes, this time we got it. Yeah, because it may take a bit of time to get the newest value. Okay, yeah, so yes, we do see that different addresses, but server response could be a bit slow, so that's why we see it a little late. Okay, great. With this, now we can definitely view the address over here, right over here. So for this reason, right after this, below this column over here, I'll here have sized box, and say I'll use height for now, 20, or actually I can use from dimensions dot height 20. Okay, all right. And after that, I want to create a big text over here, and I do already have big text, this one. Now would here say delivery address. Okay, all right, and right after this I'll have another sized box, so I'll just copy this and put it here. Okay, right after this I want to show my address over here. The one is being referred from Google server. So for this one we can write over here. I think we have app text field widget, right? App text field widget, this one. Okay, so all we need to send is the text controller. So in our case, the text controller is address controller, so that's what we send. And here your address, and over here we also can send an icon. So the icons dot map. Well, let's see. Yeah, just a map. I think only one we have here, map. Okay, all right, now we'll save it and we'll see how it looks over here. Yes, beautiful. We already said there, but do remember this is the app text field widget, the one we built before. Okay, now let's change our address, and yeah, So as we change, it updates here, but of course it might take a bit of time to get updated because we need to wait for the data to be available from server. Okay, all right, so it's great. And over here we want to move it to this left side. So here, actually, for this one over here, for the column itself, set up the property cross-axis alignment dot start. Okay, so here I'll have this one, and okay, all right, so now it's at the start, but I think we need to give them a little bit padding. So here I'll wrap this one around padding. Okay, so padding widget. So padding on the left dimensions dot with 20. Okay, let's see. Okay, we can't have const because this is dynamic. All right, so yeah, that's how it should look. Okay, so with this, it's working. And the other thing we want to get from the server is our name and our phone number. So that's what we want to get. Now, to be able to get that, we need to set up another get builder. So because we want to use our user controller, and if we have access to user controller, then actually we can get access to the property we need. But of course, for this one, what I will do, I'll cut this one, all of it first. Okay, now here I'll have get builder, and here we'll do user controller. Okay, and then we'll have builder, and then user controller. Okay, and then from here we'll return, and so what we had early, that part we return. Okay, all right, so let's save it, make sure everything is okay. Yes. All right, so now with this we'll be able to access different values for our user from user controller. Okay, well, now for user, over here we'll get data based on this object. So here we do if user controller dot user model not null, and contact person name text is empty, so it's not null. And if it is empty, then we want to get the value. So we would want to get the value from here, from user model, and we'll put it in contact person name over here. So here we do once again the string interpolation, user controller dot user model dot name. Okay, all right, now let's see what's happening here. Replace dot with this. Okay, let's see over here. Okay, and here text. All right, and then we do contact person number dot text. Now here we do the same, user controller dot user model dot phone. Okay, all right, and we might need the same thing over here. Okay, cool. So now we'll have this two information. Okay, but what if the user already has information address? It means user has previously logged in. So this really doesn't matter. Each time user logs in, we can have this information easily, no problem. But because address is optional, so we need to check this address thing one more time. Get.find, and here we do get.find location controller, location controller and here address list is not empty. If address list is not empty, so here address list we'll check if it is empty or not. If it is not empty, then we'll retrieve the data and put in the address list this variable or address controller.text inside this. But before that, we need to come to our location controller, and over here we need to make a new function. Okay, now here we'll call the function type. The function name would be getUserAddress. Okay, we'll see if we have address in our local storage or not. Okay, so here we'll create a variable late, and type would be address model, and we'll call it address model. Address. Now here we'll have getAddress. Now previously actually we declared these two variables over here, as you see, getAddress. So now I'll cut this one and I'll put it right at the top so that we know that which variable we are using. Okay, now we'll try to get address from our repo. Repo talk to the shared storage. Okay, so getAddress over here. Now here location repo dot get user address, but of course this doesn't yet exist yet. We have to create one. Well, to create one, we'll go to location repo, and over here we'll just let's see, this is location controller. To go to location repo, which is this one, and right below it we'll create a function, and now we'll say get user address. Now it will return address from shared storage. Okay, so here we'll do return shared preferences, get data, get string actually. Now here we'll have app constants dot user address. Now the user address is the one that we created early, I told you. Okay, so this is a string where we save user address locally in the storage. Now of course this would return a string. Okay, so we are returning a string. Let's see, type nullable. Okay, well, you could do either like this, or over here you could also do, if it's null, then return empty string. Okay, so either way it should work. Now with this, now come to location repo. Over here it should work, but now this returns a string. Okay, now this is over here, this is a map. Okay, so we need to do a convert. Even though map is more like string with the key pair value, we need to convert it. To do that, I'll cut this one, and here I'll do JSON decode. Okay, so string decode to map, just like this. So if you have a map which is this type, I mean we want to store in the map from the string. We saw earlier that it returns string, so we want to convert it to a map using JSON decode. Okay, so here you can do converting to map using JSON decode. Alright, so now the other one over here, we do try clause. Okay, now we'll catch error if things go wrong. Okay, and we'll simply print E for now. Okay, now over here we want to, well, over here we want to convert this one, the one we get, to address model. Okay, so two ways we are working. Now here we can do address model. Okay, now here we do address model and model.fromJSON. Now JSON takes a map, and just now we know that this returns a map. So here we'll just simply put it here, so we'll get a map. Okay, previously we have worked on this. We know that it takes a map. Okay, so if it takes a map, well, then we can just simply send this one, because just now we learned that this creates a map. Okay, so we'll have this one. Okay, so and after that we can just simply go ahead and do a return statement. So here we would do return address model. Okay, all right. Now here we want to change the type. Here we want to return address model type. So that's what we are returning. Okay, so hopefully this should work. And now we would come to our addAddress page over here. And here we can do get.find. Okay, location controller. Okay, and then get user address, and then here let's see, address. Okay, so this is one we can access from get user address. So now once again take a look at this one, get user address. It returns address model. Now if it returns address model, now if you come over here in our address model, so these are the fields that we can access. So one is address, address type, address longitude and latitude, but of course we are addressing using getter. Okay, so that's why over here we created this this function. Okay, so whatever we get from database, okay, whatever we get from our local storage, we convert it to model. And if we can do that, then we are able to access using this property. Okay, so hopefully it makes sense. Anyway, so now here we need to put it. So here we do address controller dot text. Okay, all right. Now, so if we already have an address, so just go ahead and use that one. Okay, now of course as you work on the UI changes, the value change dynamically, and that value would be gotten from here. Okay, if you don't tap on this UI, the default value would come from here. If we have storage in our, if we have information in our local storage, if we don't have, then it would be empty, because here let's see, well, it would be empty. Well, it would be default empty because there is nothing, so that's why, sorry. And if there is, we'll have it from there. But once you start to tap on this, it would immediately talk to the server and get information. Okay, so that's how it should work. Now with this, our address controller is working, and the contact person name and contact person number, they all should be working. So for this reason over here, let's see what I'll do. I'll copy this one over here, and I'll copy these two lines. I'll come over here, put it. All right. So now here your address, your name. Now here we'll have name, contact person name, and this icon we want to change it to person, I think. Person, yes. And here you want to change it to phone. And here you do contact person number. Okay, and your number. Okay, now let's go ahead and save it. So what we'll do, we'll copy this one, this section, and we'll put it right here, right after it actually. Yes, and this should be your name, contact name, name and address. Okay, we can try small a, and over here we do the same thing for this one. So right after it, here we put your number. Okay, let's restart everything. Hot reload. Yes. Well, now one thing though, like the contact name and this, we don't want to have so much space. Okay, so over here we'll put 10. And where else? Let's see. Okay, number, and we should also have one for address over here, this one. Okay, now it's looking much better. And at the same time, over here, this one, so container, we want to change the color. It looks like we didn't set primary color, but it doesn't matter. So we can use our app colors dot main color. Okay, so this should be our border color. Okay, well, next we'll see how to work with these 3 buttons. Actually, we need to put them. We'll select whether it's home, office, or other places. Okay, like that. All right, well, to do that, first we need to come to our location controller, and right below it we'll create a new method, and we'll call it setAddress type index. Here, int index. Okay, so we'll pass the index and we'll set it to address type index. This way we'll keep the track of index that's being changed on the click. Okay, so here we have this address type index, as you can see. I think we did it somewhere. This is the index that we want to update, and it would also help us to update the UI because of this method. Okay, all right. And after this, we would come to addAddress page over here. And let's see, so this is our stack and container. Okay, so well, I think right below this one over here we'll create another sized box. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, here we do height 50, and inside of this we'll have child, and as a child here we do ListView dot builder. Okay, and because we have this one, we want to show them in a list view. Okay, so that's why we are going to do that. So now I will enlarge this. First I will put a comma so that the errors are gone. Now over here we do have this item builder, and it takes context and index. Now after that we'll return. Now here we'll return inkwell. Okay, we want to click on them. And inkwell will have this on tab property. So yeah, so as we tap on them, we want to update the index. So here we do location controller dot set address type index, and this is the index that we want to update, and the method that we created just now. Okay, so once we click on them on tap event, we click and update. Okay, now here child. Now here we want to create a container because of course we need a bit of decoration and a bit of shadow, as you can see, right? So a lot of things are happening. So over here, okay, one more thing we are missing for this one is the item count. Okay, so here we need to do item count. Wants to get the how many address type we have. Well, for this one actually here, let's see, we do have address type list. Okay, now here actually we can do a getter. So here we do get string, and here we do get address type list, and here we do address type list. Okay, so this is the getter. Well, we can make it final, it doesn't matter. Now if we come over here, now we do location controller dot address type list. Now here simply we can go ahead and call the length property of it. Okay, perfect. Now right after this, actually we want to create container, and for the container we want to have decoration. Okay, let's go ahead and do some decoration. So here we do decoration, box decoration, and let's see. All right, so here we'll have border radius. Okay, then here we do border radius dot circular. Now here let's see, dimensions dot radius. Well, radius we want to use just 5, so we can divide it by 4 and then we are good, right? And after that we also want to use a color for this. Okay, so we do, let's see, theme color, card color. Let's go ahead and use the card color, and we can also use box shadow over here, and it takes a list of box shadows. So here we do box shadow. Now here we'll use this color property, so we do colors dot gray 200, and it's not null. And here we can do spread radius and blur radius. Spread radius 1, blur radius 5. In general, spread radius is less than blur radius. Now let's go ahead and save it and see how it looks. Yeah, we do have stuff here because it increased, but we don't see it yet. That's because we didn't set this icon yet. Okay, so all you need to do, go ahead and set the icon. So we didn't do that, so that's why we don't see them. Now the icons would be part of this container, because this is a list view builder. It would run in a loop like 3 times. So each time it runs in a loop, this container would also run 3 times. Now this container we can assign child to it. Okay, so here we do child row and the children. And you can ask why row, because in the row the first part would be this child, then there should be a little bit of empty space. Okay, yeah, like this kind of empty space, so that's what we want. Okay, so icon and space together like that. So here we do icon. Now what kind of icon to show and which icon has been clicked? Like you see, you can click on this one or this one, so icons are clicked. Okay, so as you click, the state is persisted. Now that would be based on our index. So if index is 0, index equals 0, then we do icons dot home field, this one. Okay, all right, if icon is 0, we do that. If not, we'll check if icon is 0, we do this one. If not, we'll check if index is 1 or not. If index is 1, so here we do icons dot work. Okay, otherwise we'll just go ahead with the third option. Okay, icons dot location on, this one. So here we want to change the color based on the icon. Now of course the icon we don't really know, but all we know is the icon index, and that's why we have this one, and this index is being set from here. So we can create a getter like this. So now we'd be able to use this one to access from here. So for this reason, now we could do location controller and what is it, address type index. Okay, now if this one matches any of the current index, okay, if matches any of the current index, so here, then we'll set the color. So here do app colors dot main color. Okay, all right, otherwise we want to get a theme of context dot disabled. Okay, all right, so this is the complete line, and if you don't see, okay, it's like this. Now let me tell you what's happening here one more time. So this is inkwell, right? So inkwell is inside this list builder. So list builder will run it 3 times, so it will have 3 items in its list, and each item will have an index like 0, 1, 2, like that. Now based on index, we fill our layout. Okay, so when the index is 0 over here, we'll show the home, and when the index is 1, we'll show work like this one. When the index is 3, then we'll show location. But of course we are doing a check. Based on check, we are rendering, and whatever the index has been tapped, because as you see, if we tap on an index, we can get that index right after tapping. Now we are saving it. As we save it, we take it and compare with the current index for certain. Compare with the current index. Wherever you tap, it gets the current index and the tapped index, and if it matches, then we set the color. So let's go ahead and save it and see the result. Okay, so here we are. So this is what we have. Now that's the reason it's happening like this, because in the list view builder itself, we need to do a little more setup. Now here, shrink wrap true, and here we would also do scroll direction, so axis dot horizontal, I think. Okay, that's what we want. And yes, so now it's looking much better, but yes, we need to do more work. At least it showed up, right? Because the height is working right now. The problem with the inner side, inside we need more space. All right. Okay. Well, now here inside this container over here, we can set up some padding for this. Okay, so here we'll do padding, add insets dot only. Let's see, only, and we'll do horizontal. And now here with horizontal. Do we have, okay, for that one we need to use symmetric actually. Horizontal and dimensions dot okay, go ahead with padding 20. Okay, and we can also do vertical. Okay, and dimensions dot height, let's see, 10. Okay, now let's save it and see the result. Okay, well, it's already looking much better. Okay, now it looks like this, and right now we can go ahead and also do a bit of margin. Okay, so here we'll do margin and add insets dot only, and here we want to create right side over here, and we do dimensions dot let's see, we need height, so let's go ahead with width. We need width, so now let's go ahead and run it. Yes, it's looking much better. As you see, the color is being saved. And what else? Let's see. Okay, well, definitely it's too much to the right. We also need to take care of this issue. Sized box. Okay, now let's wrap it around another padding, and here we do edge insets dot only left dimensions dot width 20. Okay, let's check out. Okay, great. So it's working, and we can also do a top one for this, and here we do dimensions dot height 20. Okay. Yes. Okay, perfect. Well, now if we do this one, actually, Let's see if we can work without this row, because I don't see that we need row. So over here, yeah, it does work perfectly without row. Okay. Okay, well, now there is a problem. Say if I want to use the keyboard, now we see this overflow issue. Now to get rid of this problem, we need to wrap this column using a single child scroll view widget. So that's what we'll do. So we'll just simply wrap it around using single child scroll view. Okay, now save it, and the problem should be gone. Okay, as you can see, so we can scroll up and down. All right, great. Okay, the next thing we want here, we want to create a button to be able to save our address. Now here, remember just now we were inside this body. So here we also want to create a bottom navigation bar. So that's what we'll do. So here we'll simply go ahead and create a bottom navigation bar. Well, now for this bottom navigation bar, actually we can go ahead and copy part of the code that we have in this recommended food detail. So I'll just copy all of it and I'll put it here. This way actually it would save our time. Now here definitely we don't need this product controller. Okay, so here we might want to use location controller. And I'll just replace this with location controller. All right, and now this function we don't need, and let's go ahead and import this one. And over here the big text we don't need, we just write here test. And we also don't need this section actually, so we can skip that one. We don't need any of this over here. And let's see where else. We also don't need this one. And actually this would save us a lot of time. If we just keep doing like that, it would take us a lot of time to do that. Okay, so here we need to get rid of this section. Okay, now let's go ahead and find it. Okay, so here we do have one row and a container, and we see this one. And okay, so over here this row, which is inside this container, most probably this one. So I'll take this out and save it. Yes, we see that's gone. Okay, yes, perfect. And now over here, this is the first child, which is this love icon. So I'll remove that one as well. Okay, now here we have this one. Okay, now main axis alignment here, let's see if we could do center. Yes, okay. So yeah, with this it should be good. And instead of this one here, we could say saveAddress. Yes, perfect. Now let's see the big text, we can use size, a little bit of size over here. So size 26. Okay, well now in this case, let's see what else we can change right now. Okay, so right now this is the problem. So here actually we can take this out and we could do hide over here. And let's try to do 8 times of it and see what happens. Okay, so it got a little bigger, and we do have this background color. Okay, and now it's still working. Okay, and if you come over here, yes, so yeah, you see that it still stays there. Great. All right, so with this we are done with this bottom bar. Well, if you want to play with this, you can also, like, there's I guess so much padding on the top and left, right. You can go ahead and change them. So it's up to you. It doesn't matter. So I'll keep it here. Next, we'll see how to submit it to the server. To send it to the server, first we need to go ahead to our file, which is this appsconst over here, and right below it, actually over here, we'll create a new static const string add user address. Okay, so here we'll create this endpoint, so API v1 and customer address end. So this would be our endpoint. Okay, so after saying that, we need to get this endpoint from location repo. So this is here, we have this location repo. Now in location repo, we need to create a method that would a post method, so that would point to this endpoint. Okay, well, to do that, here we can create an endpoint, and of course, once again, this is a post method. Like here we had this get method. Well, so they would send data. Okay, and after sending data, it would get a response back. So here we do future response. Okay, and here we would say addAddress. Okay, now here we'll send the address model, and we'll call it address model. Okay, so wherever we call this, of course, we'll call this method from location controller. We'll close this one. So we'll call it from here. We don't need this. So call it from here. So we'll pass the address model. Okay. All right. So as we pass it, and it will return us a response. So we do return await API client dot post data. So this would be a post method. All right. Now URI is our endpoint. So app constants dot add user address. Okay, and over here the body, so the body would be our this one, but now this would be coming as an object. Here we need to convert it to JSON, but of course we don't have this method yet, so we need to go ahead and create this. All right, and here of course we need async. Okay, here about this we still get error because we don't have any to JSON. Over here we have from JSON method, so we need to create a to JSON method. Okay, so here it would receive and well, so let's see where we are here. So from this object we'll call this method. Okay, so by the time we call this method, there would be an object created. So for that object we can call it and convert this object to JSON. Well, I'll talk about this more soon, so bear with me. So here we'll have string and dynamic and to JSON. Okay, so here we'll do final map string dynamic, and we'll call it data. Here map string dynamic. Okay, all right. Of course, we need to return this map, otherwise we'll get error, as you see. So here we'll do return data. Okay, now the error should be gone. Of course, there is no data to be created yet. So here we'll do data ID. Now here this All right, so with this, by the time when you call it, there should be a value in this field, and we'll take that value and convert it. We'll save them in this variable in JSON format. Okay. Now, if you come over here, the arrow should be gone. Okay. But of course, we didn't create this object using this model yet. We need to do that. So here, now we'll go to our location controller over here. And here as well, we'll create a new method at the end, and we'll call it addAddress. Okay. Here we'll call it addAddress, and here once again it would get address model and address model. Okay. Now, when we hit this, we'll set is loading. Let's see, do we have is loading? We should have. Okay, we just have a loading here. Loading equal true. Okay, so the data is being loaded. So we need to update the UI immediately. And then we'll do await location repo dot add address, this one, and we are passing this address model. So once again over here, this would return us a response. So here we would save it in response. Okay. All right, and of course it wants async modifier. Okay. All right, so here we'll check the response status. Okay, response dot status code. If it's a 200, it means it's working. Okay. All right, and then here we'll create a string variable, and we'll create the variable name as a message, and response dot body, and here we'll have a message. Okay, well, don't worry, from the server we'll send this message. Right now, of course, you don't know what's happening here. And then I think we also need to create a response model object over here, response model. Okay, and here response model. Now, if it's successful, then we'll update the response model, this value, with response model, this one, and here we'll set it to true, and the message that we got from the server. Okay, so this message would be from the server if the status code is correct. Okay, and then here we need to await and get.find, and we'll use location controller. I think we can just simply, let's see, we are inside location controller, so we'll just simply go ahead and call a method save user address. Okay, and we need to send the address to it. Okay, yeah, and after that over here, else, if it doesn't work, anyway, print couldn't save the address. Okay, and update one more time, and then over here we want to return, let's see, this response over here, response model. Actually, this is what we want to return this. Now over here, if we are going to return this one over here, future response model. Let's see. Okay, but well, okay, we also need to update it here if we don't get it. So we can also send a response, but this time it is false, and the message is response dot status text. Okay, let's see. Well, it could be null. Okay, well, but if we do this one, it will saying to it that it won't be null. So when we send this response status from the server, definitely there has to be a value, otherwise we'll get error. Okay, now this is what we have here. So we have to create another method to save user address. That's one part of it. All right, so now from addAddress page over here, we need to call it. Okay, so now here we would call it from here inside this container, saveAddress. So this is the right place to do that. Okay, but before we go ahead and do it, first we need to create an object using our address model. Remember, here we would be calling this one, so we are passing an object from address model. So we need to create the object over here, and that's what we would do. So here we would call address model, address model, this one, and the variable name is address model. Okay, now here we would create address model, this one. Okay, now here we need to have address type. Now address type is coming from our location controller. So here we do location controller dot, let's see, address type list, and here inside this we'll have location controller address type index. So this is the first value we want to put. Do remember that it takes let's see, here there should be semicolon, and after this, yes, we will have a comma. So yeah, so now this one, so we just send the first one, we need to send all of this. Okay, now this is the index type is saved as you click on them. Okay, so whenever you click on this, the index type is saved, and based on that index type we get whether it's a home or working place, like that. So I'm talking about this one. So index type, after being pressed based on the list, we get the value. Hopefully it makes sense. Okay, now we'll come over here. So here we'll have contact person name. So here we do contact person name dot text. All right, and the contact person number dot text. So whatever is in the text box. Okay, and address. Here we do address controller dot text. All right, and latitude, or say we'll go with latitude. Now here for this one, location controller dot position dot latitude, this one dot to string. Okay, now if this is somehow is empty, we'll send empty string. Okay, let's see. Okay, well, it says okay, remove. Let's go ahead and remove it. And the longitude is location controller dot position dot longitude dot to string. Okay, all right. So now after passing this, now if you see earlier we looked at it. So we said earlier if we pass these values, all these values, it would come over here and be assigned to it. And as it given to them, now from here we send it to the left hand side of this thing. So now you have a model, you have an object of this model, and this is the object we have, and this is the object we want to pass to our location controller to this one. Eventually it would get passed down to location repo. okay? And when it comes to location repo, over here we convert it to JSON, okay? So hopefully it makes sense. So after this, we are done with this, and then over here we would call location controller addAddress, okay? addAddress over here, this one. So that's what we send, this address model, okay? And here we do then. So because it's a future response, so we'll wait for the response and see what happens, okay? So when the response returns, we'll get it in response variable. You can name it anything, it doesn't really matter, okay? And after that, let's see, response, RESPONSE, response. Now over here, if response dot is success, okay, if response dot is a success, do remember that this address, it returns response model, and response model has a property is a success, okay? So we are checking if it is success, perfect. That means we can just simply go back. After saving it, we'll go back to the earlier page, okay? And here we can just simply send a message, get.snack bar, okay, address, here added successfully, all right? Okay, well, otherwise, else, get.snack address for now, here, get and save address, just like this, okay? So yes, and so if we get the response back, simply we go ahead and save it. Now if you come to this addAddress over here, add user, this one, so it points to this customer address and add. So we'll open our backend and we'll take a look at it, okay? So let's go ahead and check it. So here we should have this one, customer, yes. So not this one, most probably. Let me check it one more time. Customer address add. So we do have here customer address, okay, the second one, and add. So we are adding new information over here. Now, okay, so that's in customer controller. So we'll go ahead and find customer controller. Let's see where it is. Inside this, controllers, API, and customer controller. Okay, and over here we have this one. Okay, so contract person name, address, these few things are required. If we have error, then we'll see that it'll send you 403. Otherwise it would save user ID, contact person name, and phone number and things like that, and the address as well, okay? And if it's no error over here, it will save it to the database, which is customer addresses table, okay? And then here we do have this message, okay? So message added successfully and status code 200. And this is the message that I talked earlier over here in the, let's see, we don't need this one, we also don't need this one. So yeah, this is the message that I want to grab, okay? So if we get this one, status code 200, then there must be a message. We can send that message. otherwise this would be the message from getX, I guess. Okay, so getX response object, well, this one will have a status code and we can get that one. Okay, all right. Now here, before we go ahead and save in the server, there are another change that I want you to do. So let me restart our app. We'll do it from the scratch. Okay, now here let me log out. I can't. Now here previously it was email, but I changed it to phone. Now for you to be able to do that, because in the database actually we want to submit phone rather than email, I made some tiny changes. So in auth controller over here in sign in page, previously you had let me see, let me find phone. Okay, so instead of email controller, I changed the name to phone controller. So I made these changes. So previously they are all email because we want to send phone rather than email. Okay, so login, when you go to auth controller for the login itself, you also need phone. Okay, and over here string phone, previously it was string email, so string phone. Okay, over here nothing else changes and you need to click on this. So here it was phone, here it was email, so I changed it to phone. Okay, so these are the few things that I changed, and of course that also means that you also need to change in your customer controller, which is this one, I guess. Oh, it should be in auth controller, customer auth controller. So in the login section, instead of email, you should have phone. So yeah, these are the changes that you need to do. Just change email to phone and you should be good to go. All right. Okay, so now over here, anyway, I logged out, so I'll log in. So here I am. Right now I'm logged in. And so what I'll do, I'll try to click on this and I'll try to get there and then check out, but it can't find my address and things like that. So yes, it's empty right now, but it does get my this one. So now I can scroll over to it, and as you see the address changes, so which means that data is coming from the server. Okay, so that part is okay. Now we'll go back to our Android Studio over here, or VS Code, whatever you're using. Now over here we want to create another method. If it comes back successfully from the server, then we want to create a method and we want to save the information locally. But for now we are not saving them locally. If you see early that we have this tool list over here, address list, this one, and address all list. Okay, so yes, we need to go ahead and create a method, and so that we can save information inside this thing. Okay, yeah, so that's one. And I also created this field later when I was offline, not taking the video. So go ahead and make this field. So we want to get a map controller. We should use it later. Okay, so what will happen over here, we want to create a new method if the status code is returned. So let's go ahead and create a new method, and we'll call it getAddressList. Okay, all right, so getAddressList. Now here definitely we need also a method in location repo, but we don't have, so we have to create one, and we'll call it getAllAddress. Okay, now this will only get called from here, this method. That means we have successfully address saved in database. Okay, so this is the message we want to this is the method actually we want to create first right now. So we'll go to location repo and create a method. Okay, now this method would take a string. This method would take endpoint. So for this one, I'll go to app constants first, and right here, I'll add a new one. So I'll just simply copy this one, Control C, Control V, and over here we can say address list URI. So address list URI. Now here, instead of add, we'll just call it list. In the backend, we have a related endpoint and method for that. We'll take a look at it later. So now here we can come to our location repo. Right below it, so we'd create a method, and this would be a get method, and it would return a response. So here we would have a response, and we'll call it getAllAddress. Okay, and here we want to return the response. So here we do return await API client.getData. Now here we'll just point to our endpoints. So we'll do address list URI, and that's all. And now here we need to put async, and we should be good to go. All right. Okay. Now after doing this one, simply we can go back to over here. Now here we can just simply do response. Okay. All right. Now this might take a bit of time, so you want to await, and if you do that, let's add async. Now this method is future type, even though it wouldn't return anything, but it should wait, so I tag it as future. Okay, make sure it won't crash, otherwise the app might crash as well. Now here we'll check the response status. So you do response.status code. If it is 200, okay. Now once again, previously we have this one, this two, address list and all address. I think we also need to make a getter for this, so I'll copy this one and put it here, and here we do get, and then we do all address list. Okay, now with this we'd be able to use this one and this one from outside of this class. Now let's come down over here. Now first make sure that for this user address list is empty first. Okay, initialize it to empty array like that, and all address list the same, because this would be unique for each user. Somehow if someone changed their account ID, then we need to set it to empty array, and after that, okay, here whatever the response we got, we'll loop through it. Okay, so here we do response for each. Let's see, we can have for each. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Now here we'll have address. Okay, yes, it does work, but it didn't show it response.forEach, because the body should have JSON information, and JSON information in a map. So if we have a map, we can use this for each. Okay, all right. Now over here we'll have address list, this one, and here would add the address to it. Now before we go ahead and add it, so we need to convert from JSON to address model object. So here we do address model. Let's see, address model. Okay, from JSON, and we'll pass simply address. So it'll take whatever it gets from there. Okay, and then as well as we'll also add it to all address list. So here add address model. Let's see. and then we'll have else. Okay, if it is not, just go ahead and still set it to empty, and this might be used in the UI, so here we would do update. Okay, so now with this we are done. Now this should have an endpoint in the server. Okay, so let's go ahead and check it. So we need to check customer address and address list URI list point. So I'll open it up one more time, and it should be in the config, I guess. No, okay, let me open it up over here. We do have a customer control. Okay, so it should be this one. So, but anyway, let me get it from here first. Okay, so this one, list customer controller address list, which points to this one. So based on this user ID, okay, because we are making sure that we are logged in before we come over here. Okay, so user would be logged in, and if the user is logged in, so if the user is logged in from this response request object, we would know that user is logged in, and then if we know, we can grab the ID and compare this to. All right, okay, so we'll get their address. Okay, so yeah, so this is the method that is getting called. Okay, once again, this would be after logging in. If the user is not logged in, user won't be able to come over here. User can only come here if they're logged in. So we'll get this request object, and then we'll see for that logged in user what's the ID, and that ID, if matches in the database, it means we found one. Okay, and get the latest address for it. Okay, all right, so that's how it should work. Now back to our VS Code over here. Yeah, now, okay, so this is the address list. Now over here we can call address list. We go ahead and call this one. So what's happening here, so with this one, first we save the address, and then we check the status code, and because by this time address is saved in the database, definitely we can get the address using this one. So we get the address back and put it here in the list. We save them for future usage. All right, and the another method that we need to use right now is called saveAddress. We need to create this one. Okay, so we don't have this method yet, so here we'll create a method, and we'll call it saveAddress. saveAddress. So now here what's happening, over here we'll save it in the local storage, and of course with this we are saving the memory. So they're a little bit different, but they all do save. Well, now for this one over here, we need to send the address model to this save user. So we'll grab this object and put it over here. Okay, now for this one, we have to also create an instance of this address model. We'll take a look how to convert this one into string and then save it to the local storage. So what we are doing, we are grabbing this object and saving it to the local storage. But the first condition is that you have to convert it to JSON. Okay, now here's how you do it. So you'd have string, say we'll call it user address. It doesn't matter what you call, then we'll call JSON encode. Okay, now in general, if you directly pass it to it, it does work sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't work, because in local storage, in shared preferences, you can only save string, right? But this string encoding could be wrong. So that's why what we'll do over here, for this one actually we'll call a method which is called toJSON, and we already have this method. So if you click on this, you come over here and you see that we have a related method over here. So we are passing, we're just calling this method based on this certain object. Okay, So whatever is stored in this object, that object is converted to JSON. Okay, now if we have JSON there, and if you do that encoding using JSON encode, it becomes much easier. Okay, and then you can just go ahead and simply store in shared preferences. So here you could do, well, first here we do a return await location repo dot save user address, but we don't have a method like save user address. So here you could do like this, shared preferences. So here we could do return await location repo. Now here we'll call save user address, another method, but we don't have this method yet, so we need to create this one, and we'll create it. Okay, now here we can simply pass user address. Okay, now we need few things over here. Async, let's see. Okay, now let's go to location repo, and we'll just simply go ahead and create one, and our location repo is over here. Now here we'll create the method, and here we'll do future bool, because if it can return successfully, it would, if after, well, so here we'll have bool. Okay, now why I'm setting it to bool, I'll tell it soon, so just bear with me. Save user address. Okay, now we are passing the string, so we'll call it address, and over here first let's go ahead and return await shared preferences dot set string. Okay, now here app consts. Now here we do have user address. Remember, we created a string user address, and in that string we saved this one. Okay, all right. Okay, now let's see, we need this async keyword over here. Sync. All right. Okay, now if you see, hover over on it, here we do have this future, and this class returns future bool. So that's why we are doing future bool, and that's all. Okay, because this class itself returns a future bool. That means if it can set the string successfully, then it returns true, otherwise it would return false. Now here, another thing we want to do here, we can also call API client dot update header. Okay, now here we can set the token. Okay, shared preferences dot get string, okay, and app const dot token. Let's see, token. All right, and we are saying the token won't be null this time. So now what is happening here, why we are setting the token? Because, well, I told you that if we are to come to this page, user has to be logged in, and for that user we already have a token. Okay, now if somehow you change the user and log in, of course then we'll also have a token. So we want to change the old token, okay, with the new token. So we are updating the header, because in header you see we have token. Okay, so every time you make a request for authentication, you should pass the token, and that's why we are passing the token. Okay, all right, so let's come over here in our location controller, and let's see, save user address. Looks like we do have an error, save address, and here I'm calling save user address. So I'll copy this one, and we'll come over here, user address, and yeah, that should be gone. Okay, all right. So now here we have this method that we created. Now over here we should also return something like future bool, future. well, if you don't want return future bool, you can return future void. That would work as well. But looks like no, it won't, because this one returning bool. So we have to return bool, because even though we are not going to use this as a conditional statement, but we have to, because this is returning bool. Just now we saw early. So okay, so what's happening here? So this is the method over here, and we are going to save the address in our local storage. Okay, and before we do that, we convert it to JSON object, which means then we can convert it to string, and then we can save it to the local storage, because local storage only takes string. Okay, all right, so now we'll come over here, and so over here, okay, so we'll do await. Okay, because it's returning bool, sorry, it's returning future, so we should do await. And actually we can also do one await here, because this is also a future. Okay, cool. Now after all this thing, what I'll do, I'll go ahead and start my app and make sure that everything is working. Okay, perfect. So over here I'm logged in, so I have this information, and I'll go over there and I'll click on this. Now yes, my information is coming from the database. I see a map, but now here one thing is missing, that we want the map to get us first time notification that we want to use this Google map. Okay, so we want to do that one. Now for this one we need to come to our UI over here, and then we'll set my location enabled to true. Okay, if you do that, it should help you to get this message. Okay, all right, so you need to do that, and I will say yes while you do that. Okay, now here I have this address. Okay, I'll go ahead and change it a little bit. Now let's see, did it change? Yes, it did. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and try to save it and see what happens. And now here we already see, and over here we see that as well, that it's not working. Of course we need to work on this message bar. The message popped up, but we'll do that later. Now over here it's not working. Okay, so here we do have a printed method. Now this is coming from our API client. API client post method already has this one. So here ID is null, and that's okay. I'm sending type home contact person. Okay, I'm not sending ID, sorry, address. So most probably this is the reason that it got rejected from the server, because we don't have address that we are sending. If you see, we also have an address option. Now if we go and check the server config controller, let's see. Okay, let me open it up over here. Customer auth controller. No, it's not auth. Customer controller. Okay, just let me go ahead and check the endpoint. So what method is get called over here? Well, I think it just address and add. So let me find it here. We do have address add, customer controller add new address. So not this one, not this one. So we need to find customer controller and add new address. Okay, so this is the method, customer controller add new address. Okay, now yes, here. So you see, here we have a field address which is required, but we were not sending it from here, so it's missing somehow. That's one problem. And well, why it's missing? Now if you come over here, let's take a look. So here we are. Yes, we are sending it here. So that is fine. Let's go to this one. and here we do have this address. Get over there. Let's go to JSON. Okay, all right, so here we are missing, you see, before we send it to the server we are converting it to JSON, right? But here we are not sending it, so that's why it's missing. So let's go ahead and save it over here. So we do address equal this dot address. Okay, now we'll save it. Okay, now we do one more time. Okay, and we don't know what happened. Okay, now we do have this exception where it says that address is not being initialized. So let's come back to our previous page. Let's see what's happening here, and this time let's do it. Okay, yes, we do still this error. Now it's address model, which is pointing to this one. So here it says that address is not initialized, so address model over here. So here the model. Now here it is true that I'm missing once again over here. So I need to do address and address. Okay, so missed that. Not address type, so you gotta be very careful what you type. The auto typing is also sometimes bad. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's see if we can save this time or not. Okay, and okay, we do have this one over here, and this should be this one instead of message like that. Okay, let's go ahead and save it, and save it now. Yes, added successfully. Okay, so well, that means it's working. Okay, so yes, now let's come over here in our cart page, and let's take a look. Where is our cart page? Here. Okay, all right. Well, so if user is address list is empty, then we go there, right? Now of course we have done the heavy lifting of address list over here just now, so which also means that there should be values. Okay, now if I'm going to hit the same route, it shouldn't go there. Okay, well, I'll just simulate it like this, else. Okay, over here I'll just say get.off named. I'll just go to home page. Okay, yes, so route helper and helper get initial page. Okay, so which will take us to home page. Okay, now of course we could do, I think, bit of animation transition. Let's see, does it take transition? Oh no, we should do it actually inside of this one, not over here. If we go and see this initial, which refers to this one, and here, let's see if we can do transition. I love the transition of getX. Let's see if we can do over here or not. Transition data. All right, fade. Okay, all right, let's save it. Okay, so here we are. So now what I'm trying to say, if I hit this button one more time, so this condition is not true, which would take you over here, right? Let's hit it. Yes, it worked. Okay, so it means that our address is working. Okay, so well, if it is working, now next we'll see over here how to access from here. This is one conditional check you do before you go ahead and check out, and you should do another option over here for users, make them able to fill in the address from here rather than going there. So there would be two options. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and look for these two options. Well, to be able to do that, we need to come to our profile page, and profile page is, I think, let's see, over here inside this account page. Okay, so I'll close all of them, and over here. Okay, all right. Now we'll have we'll look for a keyword, fill in. So yeah, this one. Now this is the widget that we have, account widget. Now of course definitely it would be a button. Okay, well before we go ahead and be able to tap on this, we need to do conditional checks. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and cut this one first. So first we want to use get builder over here, get builder, and then we'll take location controller and builder and location controller. So I'll expand it. Okay, location controller. Now here would return first. Okay, let's put it like that. Okay, now over here, what it would do, we'd check if the we will also go ahead and check user login. So here we do get builder. So here return get builder, and let's see, I think we already have one, so we don't need to do that. Let me check it. I'm sorry. At the top, yes, this is user logged in. User logged in is a global variable. Yes, so user logged in, we already have one, so we don't need to do it for over here for this button. So we can just simply do a conditional check over here. If is logged in user logged in, this one, if it is true, and then we would see location controller dot address list. Now we'll check the address list. Okay, is empty. If it is empty, so from here we'll ask them to go ahead to a place and do stuff. Okay, so here we do return. Okay, now if the user has logged in and this is empty, so we'll show this widget where it says that go ahead and well, it'll show with this message. Okay, yes, all right. Okay, now this is even after this we need to wrap it around gesture detector because we want to make it clickable. Okay, so here we do gesture detector. So gesture detector, gesture, all right. Now here we would do on tap. So here we just do name, get it to off named. Okay, and here we want to forward them to route helper dot get address page. So we want to forward them to address page. Okay, all right. If they click on the button, user has logged in, address list is empty. That means user hasn't visited this page, hasn't done anything. Okay, so here we'll forward them to this page. Okay, hopefully it makes sense. Now copy it one more time over here. Yes, yeah, okay. Now else over here. Let's see. Okay, this is not here. This should be here. Else. Okay. All right. And else, actually, I think we can copy all of it. Not that one, just. Okay. Okay, cool. So now here we don't want to show this one. We just want to show your address. Your address. Okay, yeah, so that's all we want. So of course here get address page, they can still go to the address page. It's just a different kind of text we are showing. Okay, yeah, so let's see. Okay, so now I'll do it like this. But right now user has logged in and user also has information. So if I save it, actually I would supposed to see this one. Okay, yeah, hot reload, yes. Okay, now over here if I click on this one, it will take me to get address page. Okay, so let's go there, and we have an issue over here. Let's see. Well, this error is happening. That's because it can't find this address, which points to this one. If you see this, and well, okay, so over here the first one, well, definitely this, it can't find this. I think this is list, let's see, or map. Okay, so this map, it says it's not being initialized. Of course it makes sense to us because we are not calling this one. All we need to do, we need to call it from here. Okay, so if address list is not empty, okay, let's go ahead and call this one. If you call this one, this map would get initialized. Okay, and here I also see an error, so it should be O, not A. All right, okay, so now yes, we see that. Now let's go ahead and change our address. Okay, so yeah, so as a grand mill, so this is our address that we are going to save. Let's go ahead and say, oh, I think it changed at the last moment. Anyway, so we'll come over here, and yeah, I think that was there at the last moment. That address changed at the last moment. Let's save it and see how it goes. So now let's look at it one more time. So yes, my address is changed, I think. Yes. Okay, now if I click on this, it will change one more time, as you see. Now that's happening here because over here our UI, our UI is not being updated. Do remember that this is the place where we talk to the Google server. So Google server gets us data, but looks like we were not updating them immediately, so that's why we were having this problem. Okay, so now let's save it, go back to our regular page. Now, okay, not over here, let's come over here, let's see, and okay, now this time we'll see that, okay, 3591, if I click this one, this would be saved, there would be no change. Okay, 3591, yes. Okay, it's added successfully. Okay, now you come over here and you'll see that 3591 has been saved. Perfect. So well, with this, our address is working perfectly as we wanted. Well, of course we need to work on this one as well, but we'll do that. But I think I'll finish over here the third part, but definitely we'll have a fourth part. I'll include payment and Firebase. Thank you so much. Actually, I wanted to do one more thing. For that one, you have to come to your location controller first, and over here at the bottom, create this one. We want to clear out the list of addresses we have before we log out, because if you log out and new user signs in, then we want to delete everything from our storage over here, which is the local storage. Okay, yeah, so that's one. And you also want to remove from here. Okay, sorry, if you do that, then you need to call this one from account page, which is from here. I already did that because I want it to be quick, so just call the method, okay, from your account page right after messages. This is for logout. Okay, call this one, and as well as you need to come to this one, so change this one to this one, get dot you can say to named. all right, and route helper dot get initial. Okay, so let's see helper. I think we need to import it. Okay, and get initial. Okay, then it should work. Okay, all right. So now if we save it, okay, so it's added successfully. Now you see here the status is your address. Okay,